welcome back to another review by Pashog. Today I'm doing a review on the Delirium series by Lauren Oliver. Now this is a YA. I'm not sure if you can consider it dystopian. Maybe actually I think it is. There's two books in the series so far, so Delirium and Pandemonium, and the third one, some box will pop up around here with the details on that. But it's in this world, love is a disease that's cured when everyone turns 18. So it's called Delirium, and they think it's just this horrible sickness that makes people depressed and kill themselves and kill each other, and they give you some injection or brain operation at 18, which has risks. A lot of people get brain damage and die over it, but they feel that the benefits far outweigh the risks, and basically the person's emotions are damped down and they don't feel love. And this isn't just for like love as in a relationship. It's also like parents and children. Parents don't feel that sense of unconditional love for their kids. They feel a sense of duty maybe, or a little bit of concern if something happens, but they don't really feel love, and that's quite sad. The operation doesn't stick with some people, like they just have a big resistance for it, and if not, they're put into this like prison. So Lena is our main girl, and she's only like a few months away from turning 18, and she strongly believes that she wants to be cured, and she lives with her aunt, and her aunt wants her to be cured and everything. That's grand. And then a few weeks before her operation, what happens? She falls in love. So that's kind of like the basic premise of this series, or just the first book. So obviously Lena learns a few truths about like what really love is and whether she wants to be cured. And so I thought that first premise with love being a sickness and needing to be cured, I thought that was really fascinating and a cool idea. But then once I got past that idea, I realised it's just going to be like a sappy romance, isn't it? And it is a little bit. I mean, it's in the first book, it is just this kind of big love story, a forbidden romance, and I mean, it has that element of cheesy romance to it, but I think the author does a good job with that element. I mean, it's hard not to go cheesy with that kind of forbidden romance in a YA. But the author does it well, and you kind of root for the characters, and I think they do have this really, Alex and Anna, the people who fall in love, they do have this really likeable relationship, and it ends in kind of like a big exciting ending. And yeah, so I mean, even though I wasn't 100% thrilled with this first book, I thought it was good, and yeah, I'd recommend it to fans of kind of that YA genre. And then the second book is just so different. It's a lot more dystopian, like it's a lot harsher and grittier, and I mean the love story is not even at the forefront anymore. It's all about Lena and surviving. And the second book as well can be a little confusing at times, because each chapter alternates with a before and a then. So what happened immediately after the first book and what happens now, like a year on, and it goes back and forth like that. And yeah, I thought the second book was like brilliant, and I loved it. I was pleasantly surprised because it was so different. And so the second book brought up the series again, and I definitely recommend it because of that. And I kind of predicted the end of the second book. I mean the very, very end. The third one now should be full of I assume it's going to be like full of angst and kind of heartache and kind of dilemmas of the heart and stuff. But yeah, I mean overall I found it a good series, and you kind of root for the main character, and it's such a rough world because people who don't believe in getting the cure are given such a hard time, and like survival is tough. So it's sad as well, like there's a few deaths in there. But yeah, I enjoyed it and I recommend it. I'd love to know what you think about it. Okay, so now I'm going to do a spoiler review. If you haven't read the books before, I think you should switch off so you won't be spoiled. So switch off now. Okay. Lena and Alex, they were that really sweet, romantic, little bit of an epic couple. And at the end of the first book, it was quite sad, like how he made her run ahead and he got caught, and she was out in the wilds. I knew he wouldn't have been killed. I mean, the author isn't going to waste a potential storyline like that where he comes back ages later to her surprise. So I knew he wasn't really going to be dead, and I guess he was going to come back. He came back at the end of the second book, sounding extremely bitter. You can kind of understand why. I mean, he gave himself up. Could you say that? He kind of sacrificed himself to let her go, and then when he sees her again, she's kind of with some other guy after he spent, I assume, a horrible time in that prison. He has like a giant scar on his face and everything. I kind of am interested to see more of her mother in the next book. Julian and Lena, they had kind of a sweet, I suppose, friendship and relationship. Like, they were thrown together in this, frightening situation. But I don't feel that sense of epicness from her and Julian as I did from her and Alex. I don't know, like, her and Julian, Julian doesn't feel as likeable. I don't know if likeable is the right word. But yeah, I kind of rooted for her and Alex a lot more, and I do think she'll probably end up at the very, very end of the series with Alex. Because usually they do end up with the person they started out with. So yeah, it's kind of sad now that Alex will have to see them together in the next book, and oh my god, Lena, like, her emotions are going on a roller coaster. She's to like figure out how she feels about Alex being back and how she feels about him and Julian. It's going to be very angsty, I say, in the next book. Sometimes I like triangles, sometimes I don't. In this series it was quite strange because when I was reading this second book and her and Julian were quite likeable, and I was kind of hoping that the first book didn't exist so we didn't have to worry about Alex and she could just move on with her life and get with someone new. But because Delirium is such a big love story and her Alex are the main element of the series, I think, her overcoming her whole life's belief system to fall in love with this guy, that I knew we couldn't really forget about Alex. And when she went to the wilds at first, I thought she was gonna but I would have liked it if this was the first book in a series. I would have liked if she gotten with maybe Tack, just someone who was really like sullen and kind of mean even, and quiet at times to her, like suddenly thawing out and getting nice and kind of sweet but in subtle ways, and then maybe them like falling in love, something like that. But I knew that couldn't really happen because it's not the first book in the series. We had Alex in the first one, so the author really couldn't do that. I was quite upset and disappointed with what Raven and Tack did to Lena. Like, I know she kind of forgave them in the very end and she said she didn't hate them and they helped her get Julian back, but what they did to her was quite awful, and like, Tack even felt more remorse than Raven. I know Raven went through a lot, but yeah, so it'll be interesting to see as well how they are in the next book. The whole resistance thing, and Lena learning like the resistance and the savages, they aren't that separate, and the GFA, and a very big political thing that then was developing even more in the second book. So I wonder what Lena will feel about all that in the third. They're my main points. I just feel that the second book was a lot more compelling than the first, and I'm very interested to see now how the third is going to be, if it's going to follow that pattern. But that's my review on Delirium and Pandemonium, and I hope you check them out, and thank you very much for watching.